what that is? Discipline. Selfish.
No joke. We're legitimate.
Let's fucking do this. Then do it. Do it 100%, because I'm trying to.
We recognize that we are limitless.
You gotta be a champion to become a champion, right? Winning is a habit because we create habits that lead to good execution and success.
Welcome, everyone. This is episode 61 of The Coaches Show. I'm Coach Mike Bianca of San Diego Dynasty, and with me, as always, is my friend and coach of Red Legion, Ryan Gray. Tonight, we have a very special guest, none other than Coach Eli Roberts of Legacy Factory Team, the MVPS Event 1 Velocity Division Champions. MVPS is the Maximum Velocity Paintball Series based out of Florida. They just kicked off this season, I believe this past weekend, with their Winter Classic event held at the Austin Tyndall Sports Complex in Kissimmee, Florida. The MVPS offers 7 different formats of divisions, such as beginners, 3v3, I think it is, Division 4, 5-man, Division 5, 5-man, Divisions 5, 4, and 3X ball. Anyway, Julie is going to walk us through her journey to coaching, tell us more about her team, their processes, as well as take questions from you, the audience. If you've never met Julie, you're in for a treat. So this episode is brought to you by Max Sportswear. If you're playing the NXL or regional league, contact Charles today for contingency details. Trust us, it'll be well worth your time to reach out. Remember, for all your custom paintball goods, and now some contingencies, get maxed. And BKI, the best knowledge in paintball. If you want to elevate your game, join BKI. New platform and content is on the way. Use code COACHSHOW to let them know you heard it here on The Coaches Show. If you are a manufacturer, brand manager, store, or field owner and would like to support the show, we need you. We need you. We have a new pricing structure for 2025 and are eager to discuss how we can partner with you. Please contact my friend Ryan, this guy right over here, through our social media channels or at Ryan at Coaches Show Live. No, Coaches Show, the Coaches Show .live. Yes, right, Ryan? I got that right. BKI, where you can quite literally learn from the best one-on-one. Now, I'm going to go off on a tangent here, going off script. I had the pleasure to coach Julie's son, Eli Roberts, for Team USA last year in France. And I have to tell you, I'm a big fan of Eli's. Truly a talented young man who I am proud to call friend. So, Eli, if you're tuning in tonight, and you better be, hello from Coach Bianca and Coach Gray. Look forward to seeing you again here real soon. Hey, Ryan, what do you say we bring in Julie?
Yeah, before we do, though, I just wanted to say I thought Eli was the best player at the Combine. Like,
nice.
After watching, I watched him some in the drills, and then I got to watch him a little bit on Saturday evening. And then, he won a 1-on-4 against my team, I thought Eli was the best player at the Combine. In the times that I saw, he was the best player I saw. So,
well, we'll have to ask Julie about his scores and stuff.
Okay.
If she wants to share that with us. I think that'd be neat.
Yeah.
Because it would be nice to talk about the Combine to our crowd again.
Just FYI, I'm going to bring her in and we'll talk about this. Hello, Julie.
Hello, Julie.
Hello, and thank you for the kind words about my son.
Yes. Yeah, we're going to talk about that because you're a huge part of his success and your support and coaching and those kind of things. Before we get into that, I want to, Mike was mentioning something about the scores. Mike doesn't know that you have sent me so I have an entire spreadsheet, Mike, of all of the scores from the this year's Combine, and I'm hoping to get the last couple of years so that I can start doing what we've been talking about the last 2 weeks, and I'll be able to pull everything out by division, and then we'll be able to create some median points and then some benchmark points so that we can begin to build out that linear process. So all those things we've been talking about, they're
Yes.
coming. And
Excellent.
thanks to Julie for putting all that data together and getting it sent to me. It's huge.
And big shout out to Becky Roberts, who is an Excel just guru that helped put all the formulas together this year to make sure it was all working right.
Oh, love that.
Love
And
it.
I love Excel. Like, I'm going to build out pivot tables and all kinds of things that are going to help me get to where we need to go. So I'm excited.
Oh
about it.
yes. Well, if you
Add me till you
have,
said
we should
pivot
definitely
table.
have a conference on that. Becky can do it just like this. So I'm sure you two would get along very well there.
Love it.
Love Excel. I just hate pivot tables.
Same. Same. All right. Well, let's get into the real reason you are here. So, MVPS champs. But before we start talking about that, let's go back a little bit.
Yeah.
So, how did we become a coach?
Okay, so like every probably paint mom out there, we get an invite that says something like, "Hey, let your kid come to a birthday party for paintball," and you're like, "Oh, okay, this should be harmless, a little fun weekend. Yeah, they'll get a couple of bruises," and that probably started when Eli was 9 years old. And then what I did not realize is the passion and the love that he would develop for that. And one of the things that Becky and I did really early on, Becky, for those of you who do not know, she is my amazing wife who keeps me completely and totally grounded. But we decided when we had kids that we were going to give 100% into whatever our kids decided to do. So our daughter does marching band and horse, English horse riding. So she had her first horse competition this past weekend, by the way. So we were dual splitting it. And then Eli chose paintball. And when that happened, for a couple of years, he played just at rec. And then it was, I really want to play over there with those folks over there on those inflatable things. And I'm like, I don't have a clue what that means, but okay. So we ended up one time walking into the legacy office there and talked to Eric. And he goes, "Well, funny you should come in today because Bone Crushers," yes, Bone Crushers is where Eli started his very first tournament play at. So he went over, they had tryouts the very next morning, and we met Pops. Big shout out to Pops for getting us started on this journey and accepting Eli on that team. And that's how we got started. Just a Sunday morning, walking over and finding out, hey, there was a tryout and Eli made a team for D6.
But how
Okay.
did you get roped into becoming a
Yes.
coach?
So that's a great question. So when I got over there, I saw that there was a lot to get done, and we needed a little bit of organization. And I come from a background of coaching from softball and from martial arts, where I was been an instructor for a very long period of time. And in my professional career, I am a project manager and an engineer. So I'm able to bring a lot of organization and a lot of leadership coaching, coaching for bringing in full potentials, coaching for communication. Didn't really know a whole lot about paintball at all. So I've learned that aspect of it as I've grown through the years with Eli. But the ultimate thing there is I got involved because they needed some organization, and I was helping Pops organize. And then one thing led to another, and the next year I became the D5 coach of the Rejects team, and we ended up taking second place that year for MVPS overall, for a team that I had never men I never even knew. And we developed a relationship, and we took them to second place that year. And then we just started developing more and more. And then I took over as general manager for the ML Kids under Kyle Berry. Big shout out to Kyle Berry for all the things that he has done for our kids. It's been absolutely amazing. Learned a lot from them. So I took over as a general manager there and a coach, and did that for a couple of years. And then last year we had the Livewire team, and Kenny Barker and I did that together. So big shout out to Kenny as well for helping me and the kids last year get all that, and all the guest players we had last year, because we kind of got started a little late last year after everybody else had tryouts. So we kind of had some guest players throughout the year last year, watch these kids develop. And then this year we decided to form a Legacy Factory. And I am now the manager of that, with Matt Crothers as our head coach, along with Tom Fox, and then Kenny Barker, and a cast of parents. We have the best pit crew ever. So big shout out to the pit crew.
Wow, it's a lot.
Lot to unpack there. There really is. I want to back up
There
and
is.
Ryan, forgive me, Ryan, because I heard a couple of terms that made me go, wait, say that again. So
Hang on,
you
you
have
already
a
know it's in my notes. You know it's already in my notes I sent you, right?
yes, but
Okay.
I glazed over it, I think, because now I'm
Okay.
really. So you said you had a background in softball and martial arts. Do you want to expound a little bit on the martial arts? And
Yes.
well, let's start with
Yes,
the
I
martial arts. We'll
can.
get to the softball. It's not as important as the martial
Sure,
arts aspect.
sure. Yes. When I was a child, some of you who probably know me a little bit more than others know that there might be a little small, tiny bit that I have a lot of passion. And sometimes when that passion I get angry. So I had a bad anger management issue when I was younger. And my mother put me in martial arts to control my anger management issue. So as the years developed and I competed in martial arts. I coached martial arts. Then I became an instructor in martial arts. So I did Taekwondo and I did, many years of it. Most of you will know that I am past that 50-year mark these days. So I've been training in martial arts for the past, 30 years probably. And I got my instructorship. So I'm a master, 4th-degree black belt master.
So is this Korean or is this American Taekwondo?
Korean.
Good. Yeah.
Yes. US Cheongdo-kwan. But we
Outstanding.
were straight out of Korea. Yes. At the Gukkiwon.
I love it. Okay. I just wanted to.
Yes.
Because
Did you know that's how I
go ahead.
Did you know that's how I got into paintball? Is I was a violent kid.
No.
Yeah, so paintball was my martial arts. So I got into paintball. I was literally doing community service at a church for an assault charge that I had, and was invited with the church group to play paintball.
Wow.
And that's how I found paintball.
Yes.
So paintball for me was what martial arts were for you.
There is tons of similarities between the community of martial arts and paintball. And the thing that I will tell you of why I love paintball and why I would encourage any mother or father or anyone to get involved in paintball is the community. People are tremendous. The diversity in paintball is unbelievable. The amount of backgrounds that come into play, the amount of ages, it doesn't matter who you are. You can be enemies on that field for however many minutes you're playing against each other. And as soon as you get off that field, it's like the best of friends and it's support. And I've never, outside of martial arts, I've not seen that in any kind of organized sports before.
Yeah. Now, paintball is a team-oriented martial sport. It is. And I've translated. I took a lot of my martial arts background and translated it very easily into the individual aspect of training, but also from a team perspective, right? So it translates so well. It really does. So that's really exciting to hear that about you. I did not know that, and that makes me very happy.
So the technical aspect of paintball, I've always told any of the teams that I've helped coach or coached, I can't teach you how to hold your gun properly. I can't teach you some of those technique stuff, right? I'm left that up to Kyle Berry and to Matt and to Kenny and other coaches that we've had. The biggest thing I can teach you is how to get the full potential out of you, right? The leadership aspect, the communication aspect, the discipline of what you need to do. The first times when we went out there, we always laugh about the Kyle Berry warm-ups, right? But then when you add that with like a Julie Roberts stretch for martial arts, there's nothing on you that does not need that needs to be any more stretched by the time before you get started. Right. So it took all those types of things in the very beginning and incorporated them in to make sure that the kids knew how to stretch properly, what they need to do to make it fun. Because one thing I learned in martial arts is you practice technique it's the same technique. It's just how you're perfecting it and how you're refining it. Well, kids will get very bored if you just keep making them do the same thing over and over again. So how do you teach them the skill, right, that you want them to learn, but do it in different ways to where they don't realize that that's what you're doing? So early on, we did crazy things at the beginning of warm-ups for when we were at ML Kids. We did dodgeball to teach them footwork, right, and movement. stuff like that. So we incorporated lots of crazy things. I remember the first time I brought a jump rope out there, they're like, why are we doing this? Right. I'm like, because you need to build your stamina if we're going to last through an MVPS tournament. You played the whole tournament in one day. So we got to build stamina.
Yeah.
So we did lots of fun things like that in the very beginning when the kids were a little bit younger and their attention spans were a little bit shorter.
See, this is great insight for lower divisional coaches who are just getting into this, who are just learning about or just becoming coaches. Maybe they have a D5 team. This type of insight is critical for that kind of foundational build. You've got to build a foundation. There has to be, we talk about it ad nauseum about culture, but this is an important aspect about it, right? Is keeping that interest and keeping that focus on the prize. So keeping it fun and entertaining instead of repetitive. That's a key component.
Especially for younger athletes with a shorter attention span, and they need that recognition a little faster. Whereas once you get a little bit older, you realize how little that means most of the time. You're just like, just going to do the work to get through it. But the younger athletes, they certainly have to have the balance, has to be certainly more tipped toward the fun side than when you're coaching the adults. So.
Oh, and the ladder drills. Make sure you have a ladder. They love doing stuff on that, right? Or different, cone setups to where they're racing each other and making it a competition. So my favorite Taekook form, it will probably be, I'm thinking Sachong, especially with the open hand.
Chris is also a Taekwondo instructor.
Fantastic. We'll talk later about that.
Yes. I think you guys have met. He's from Kansas. Yeah.
Oh, that's the thing with paintball. You meet people from all over the place. It is amazing. I think I know people in almost every state we play paintball in.
Yeah.
Well, look at that. There's one of your
cups.
Tell us about your martial arts back. Good job, Brian. Yeah.
So, Julie, I create just a really crude framework for the show every time, because we don't necessarily go like bap, bap, bap and follow it. We kind of let the show just like right now. We're obviously not doing none of this is in this kind of script, but we just kind of let it flow. And I get to laugh sometimes because Mike, he's so busy that I'll send him the stuff sometimes and he may go and that's about as long as he looks at it, right? And so he'll say something or ask a question, and I'm like, you didn't even read what I said. You didn't get it at all. Literally the second. The second, because I knew that he would be very interested in it. And so the second thing in my ideas of discussion notes is tell us about your martial arts background. And then is there any crossover? It's literally question 2.
Oh, I love it. And there's tons of crossover.
Yes,
for sure.
There's lots. I'll shut up now.
So let's talk about the divisions that you have coached, and then kind of what you're doing now. And I understand, what you're doing now is more of a management role, but you mentioned some things in the green room that sound like you're still sort of a part of that coaching staff, just more in an advisory role, which is still very, very important. So you mentioned you started out on D5, and I have questions too about these team names.
D6.
So the Bone Crushers.
Bone Crushers, yes.
Okay. That was the first team. And then the team
team
you coached was called the Rejects.
Mm-hmm.
Rejects.
With Brandon Johnson, he's the owner of the Rejects, and Dougie Ball. And those guys are they when Bone Crushers, happens all the time in paintball, right? Where you got a team that started playing together, and then by the end something happens and you don't have enough players. Well, in D6, obviously with only 4 or 5 guys on a roster, if 2 goes away, it really kind of destroys the team, right? So that's what happened in our first year at the end of the year of paintball. So Pops was really good friends with the Reject team. We play out Legacy, and they were like, "Come on, bring him over here. We'll work with him." So that's how we kind of got there. So that following year, that was I think in 2021. And then in the following years, when Brandon was like, look, I want to play on the D4 line, need somebody to help me out with my D5 line. You helped Pops out last year. Will you coach? And that's what really started the whole coaching aspect of it.
You said rejects. And if I recall doing my research, that's who you played for first and second at this last event, isn't it?
And not only that, those guys, 4 of them played for us for Livewire last year. They, in the middle of the year last year, the Dog Rejects, which was also Dog Factory, came over and played with us the last few events. So we actually are, when we talk about a community, when we talk about really loving on each other as players, yes, the people that we were in the finals with are absolutely our extended family.
That's fascinating.
Very cool.
Yes. And I cannot tell you how much of an encourager all of the, and it goes not just for just the rejects, but to many of the teams out there with Totem, with Red Challenger, with all the divisional teams like Takeover and the teams that we play with Practice Points over at Legacy. All those teams are huge supporters of our kids. They all want to see our kids succeed. So you can hear them when they play a point. Someone will be on the sideline, be, hey, come here, let me tell you about this. Or, hey, did you notice this gap? Or, hey, I saw you drilling over here and I saw this happening. Maybe you should do this, or that, or make this small adjustment. That happens all the time. So it doesn't matter if we're playing against them in a championship game, or if we're playing against them on Sundays or drilling on Saturdays. All of that level of support is there for the kids. And that's what's absolutely amazing.
To hear this and to see what we saw at the combine with the younger generation really coming in, the growth, paintball seems to be in a growth, a growth trajectory, and especially the youth. It's difficult to get this. Here's a question, and I don't mean to go off topic, but as a mother of a paintball player who got started at a birthday party at 9 years old, etc., when you were first brought into this world of quote markers, shooting at each other to eliminate the opponent, how do you talk to another parent who's thinking about or asks about what you coach or manage? How do you explain the sport to those children or those parents? For those our listeners out there who may not, they've run into that conversation before and they don't know how to defend the beauty of our sport. What would you say?
Sure. So obviously there's rules and limitations, right? Yes, it can be a violent sport, and yes, you're going to get bruises, and yes, there are injuries. Lots of team sports have lots of injuries, right? And people can get hurt. So one of the things when you talk about martial arts and you talk about paintball, yes, you're fighting each other, right? But along comes that fighting comes so many other benefits, whether it's strategy, whether it's confidence, whether it's leadership, whether it's communication, whether it's friendships. The aspects of what a player can learn is so much greater than just shooting a gun and hitting, someone with a paintball, right? That's just a piece of the game. The game itself is so much larger than that. It's so much larger than just winning or losing. The skill sets that any player, I think, for paintball learns is something that can help them even on the field and off the field to be a better man or a better woman, a better husband, a better friend, a better wife. So there's so much more to that than just shooting a paintball at someone and leaving a paintball mark.
Excellent answer.
I think everything you said is so true of all sports.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like if it's your thing, and you're passionate about it and you love it, it's going to teach you a lot about life, right? Like
yes,
every sport. So, but paintball is unique, obviously, because we are shooting each other with bath beads at 200 miles an hour, right?
Yes.
That's what it is. Like if you go back and look at Cardinal Health, which was, one of the first manufacturers of paintballs, they made RP Shear. They were also just happened to be the largest manufacturer of bath beads for, Bed Bath and Beyond. And they made Tylenol gel cat. Like it's a bath bead that we shoot at each other. That's what it is. It's a, bath bead. So
yes,
I say it all the time to people, especially when we're trying to talk about the game I owned paintball parks, and when I was trying to sell birthday parties to moms, I literally said, hey, it's a bath beat. It's the same thing you throw in your bath to make it salty and oily, and kind of right away it sucks the like, oh, like it's not this really lethal thing, and so I tried to make it silly as much as I could. I would say it was bath beads a lot.
Yes.
Don't forget you can freeze them. I love these guys. As soon as I used to freeze them all the time, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not listening to a single word you're saying anymore now. So.
Right? It's like, oh, you never actually played paintball. You can't freeze them.
You make such great points about with the parents. It teaches them confidence, communication, strategy, friendships. Something I wrote down: conflict resolution, right?
100%.
Critical thinking, yes. All these different things that are so important off the field as well. And
thinking outside the box.
Camaraderie. So.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, they get in the game situations, right? And we can drill, and we drill a lot. That's probably one of the things that sets our players apart, and has been for several years now, is we do focus on drilling. We do not focus just on playing points. So we do look at that aspect. But every time they get into, and this is something that I've had a few parents talk to me about here recently, especially after the combine. Julie, how do you manage a player's points? How do you, what is your advice on how fast my kid should progress? And for us, we made the decision not to skip levels. We wanted that time in the seat, because that playing time, that experience time, that situational time, is you can't gain that unless you do it, right? So I think that Eli's ability to do the things that he's been doing, along with, Warren Barker and Emil and, all these guys you saw at Combine, right? Ryan and Zayden and JP and all those guys, those kids are in the seat learning as they're going through these points and getting that seat time. And that's the parts that, when am I in the situation? Okay, I've been here before. What did I do last time? But you know what? Last time that didn't work. So I need to try something else. And I think the thing also that people forget about paintball, at least as an observer from my perspective, is there are things that you expect to happen. And then there are things that you cannot expect to happen, right? And sometimes it is your job to be unpredictable, not necessarily to be predictable, because everyone kind of is like, oh, they're going to go here. But if you do something just a little bit different, then it throws people on their heels, and they have to be like, oh my gosh, I didn't expect that. How do I respond? And then at that point, you can get that gain advantage on them. So that's one thing that we try to teach our kids sometimes, is we'll have points that we'll talk about, be unpredictable this point, right? Think outside the box. And we give them permission to do that at times. The other one is being a little bit, organized, but it's reckless. So it's like it's a focused recklessness. And it's tried to help them with their, sometimes they don't necessarily always have that drive to attack, to be aggressive. So sometimes we have to kind of do that. So we call it reckless abandonment is what we call it. So you have permission on this point to be reckless abandonment. Go out there and do something. And we're just trying to get them situations to learn and do and try new things.
Organized chaos.
It is.
So, yeah.
It is. But sometimes we have to give them permission to do that, because if not, they think that they're going to do something wrong, and then they're going to get in trouble for doing something wrong. So it kind of gets a little bit more out of them.
Clever.
Do they get in trouble for doing things wrong?
Sometimes, absolutely.
At practice?
Absolutely, they do. Listen, we're all human, for sure. And they do that, when they don't do things right and they know better, they are accustomed to running laps, or something like that. So we do have some discipline aspects that go with that. So if we know that we are just absolutely falling down, you will see our players after points that they should have won, take a lap. Matt Crothers is really good about making sure that happens. Big shout out to him for that.
Old mistakes. I understand what you're saying.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I was like, so if we make a mistake in practice, we get in trouble.
No. We teach our guys, if you are not failing, you are not learning, right? So
Sure.
you've got to make some mistakes to learn. But when those things have been drilled into your head over and over and over again, and you're making the same mistake over and over and over again, or you're just getting lazy, or you're just, just not quite being focused or something like that, then yes, absolutely, there's some discipline aspects to that. But we do, but like I said, we also have time where there are things that we just reckless abandonment, where we try new things, and see if it works. I mean, that's the thing with it's being a team sport and bringing 4 teams together like we have this year. We are having to learn who plays better together, who plays better together as ones and twos and threes. How do they communicate? What can we do? So Matt is going through this whole process right now of trying to, help the kids determine what that looks like, and the players and what that looks like. Because we do have some older folks, or not older folks. We have a couple of older players on the team this year, as well, that is also helping us out. So our range is about from 14 years old until I think James is up there in the mid 30s, right there helping us out. And then of course this last weekend, because it was the velocity division, we had Mark Ireland on the team with us as a pro, and that was just absolutely amazing to have him play with the team this weekend.
Yeah, I bet that was special for the guys.
Yes.
Absolutely. To be around Mark has he would have such an impact on being around those kids looking up to him and seeing how he handles and addresses himself. You said something, and I just want to get this off my chest, because you said something that we have those, reckless abandon points, but we're also rigid with our discipline. And I think what you're talking about is that fantastic balance,
Yes.
especially in the teenage years, where you're basically saying, hey, look, right? There are certain things. You're not stifling growth. If it's just rigid, discipline, you're getting it wrong, and you don't allow any of that expression, right? That experimentation, then the kid's not going to want to continue. But by giving that outlet every once in a while maintaining that discipline, hey, these are our standard operating procedures. This is how we expect standard performance, right? These are our KPIs. We want to meet these. Hey, every once in a while, let's go a little crazy.
Yes.
Right? And I think that really, and they're not going to get in trouble for it. And I think that's really important. Really important.
And we do that a lot early on layout weekends, to where we're trying new things, before we kind of get more rigid along with our play calling, right? As we learn the layout. But we've got to definitely figure out what will work, what won't work. So we do all sorts of things.
Love it. Would that be a good translation into, talking about a little bit more about the MVPS at this point?
Sure. Let me tell you a little bit about how Legacy Factory formed, for those of you who do not know. Listen, there's probably some of you out there are thinking, oh my gosh, you and Matt Crothers and Kenny Barker are all on the same team together these days. Yes, we are. What we decided to do last year, and Brett Connor also, we decided to take 4. Our players are made up of 4 teams from last year. So we have the Livewire team, we have players from Dynamic, we have Zayden from Shot Kids, and we've got the Damage Control guys. We have Alec and Nate and Blake on that team with that's the Damage Control, and then Ryan and James and Austin are from Dynamic, and then the rest of the Livewire guys. We took those 4 teams and we decided that we needed to stop putting the strong players on different teams, and let's try to get this group of kids plus a couple of the adults together to make a very strong team. So we decided to do that last year. So Matt Crothers is the head coach, like I had mentioned before, and we decided we were going to play MVPS this year because obviously Alex, big shout out to Alex, love MVPS and all the Tiki's teams out there as well. He wanted to do the velocity division. So we put our name in the hat to do we were going to play D2 this year in NXL, and we were going to play velocity over at MVPS. We're still up in the air a little bit about maybe doing Texas tournament here or there. So that's on our schedule that we're looking at. But you can only imagine between Team USA, Combine, MVPS, and NXL. It's a really, really full schedule already. So that's kind of how we got together. So there's only 4 teams in it this time. I do believe that there's going to be more teams in the velocity division at MVPS as the further that we go. With NXL Tampa being right around the corner, a lot of teams were kind of tight on that. So they really wanted to do the NXL versus the MVPS. So I believe that that division will grow. We are committed to helping it grow. And we got out there Saturday. And as we are coming together, we played a lot of teams that have been together for a while. Right, the Totem team's been together for a while. Red Challenger, even though it's a new name between the Wookiees team and the JR team, those guys have played a lot together. And then, of course, the Rejects have played a long time together. So we, as the newer team coming together, we really were a little bit rocky on Saturday morning, for sure. So we did not start off as well as we should have, and we paid for it. And then we got that chance to really, as things got to turn around, we had some guys really, really step up, and then everybody kind of just gelled together, and we really finished the day very, very, very strong by winning a couple of points in overtime. And then at the end, we were able to Alec won a 1v1 against the Rejects to finally push us over to first place.
Nice. So basically, just to clarify, so we're playing the MVPS. Will we be playing the NXL? And if so, what division will they be playing in?
Division 2. Yes. Our goal for this team is to try to be the next Wrecking Crew, frankly. We have mad respect for the Wrecking Crew team and all of those players over there. Just mad respect for that team. So we are we've put our thought down to where maybe we can follow that same path to where we can go from D2 to semi-pro next year, and then follow that path along. We have obviously some very great practice partners. Big, huge shout out to everything that Damage has done for us this year, with Jason Edwards. Obviously his 1000% support. He is helping coach now with the team, along with what Mark did this past weekend. Keith Brown has been a huge asset for us. Chris Horn has been another asset for us this year. They're giving the kids lots of coaching opportunities. And in addition to that, Coach Joey has provided us some opportunities to actually play against the Damage team for some practice. So obviously the kids are super stoked about being able to play against, their heroes, frankly, right?
Totally.
And the opportunity that, obviously our boys need to earn a spot there, or we're not going to keep it there, right? But the opportunity to learn from some of the best is just priceless, frankly.
Yeah. Those names you just checked off the list those guys are all fantastic.
Yes.
And not just players, but men, right? Like, they're great men. They're great coaches. They're obviously very intelligent, know a lot about paintball. Being in that environment has got to be very helpful. And I love the fact that you said we want to kind of be more like the next Wrecking Crew, but I'll tell you what's different. Wrecking Crew has gotten pretty spread out now. Yeah. They're kind of all over the place. Whereas you guys, if you can keep everybody, we talk about this all the time, especially with young teams, girls in life become a problem at about 16 to 18. So, if they can kind of make it through that time period and stick it out and stay together, you guys will be much, I don't want to say much better, but you have an opportunity to be better and be more like a paintball fit scenario where you can, the kids can play more together. And I know that, again, this has no shot at Wrecking Crew. It's just, I think the model that you have is, in my opinion, is really totally different than Wrecking Crew. Like, they're now kind of spread out. They have now big age gaps from their oldest to youngest player. So I think what you guys are doing is relatively unique. I love the fact that you took 4 teams and realize like, hey, we can either battle it out and then stay kind of stagnant, and like obviously we'll grow, but it'll take us longer, or we can just like put our egos aside, jam this thing together. Let's do the right thing for the kids and build a much better, not just one team, but multiple teams that now we also have fantastic sparring partners, right?
Yes.
So it's not just about getting one team to be really good. It's building out this very linear program to where you can become more self-sufficient. I think it's a completely different than the Wrecking Crew thing, but great idea. Wrecking Crew definitely did not fold. Not sure. I don't know what that means. Sorry, Jeff. But I wanted to catch that before that went too far away. Definitely not. They did not fold, and they're having zero problem keeping it together. They're really, really good.
I don't think they're struggling at all. So
yeah, and if I made it sound like they were, that was not my intention. Yeah, I don't think
but
I
did.
Do
like but I do like what you were saying, Ryan and Julie. He's absolutely right. I think you have a little bit more of an advantage, right, in the fact that you are mostly local and you took the best of the best to create this thing. And so you've got all these influences, you've got all these assets, Chris Horn, Joey Blue, Jacob Evans. I mean, just incredible of what you could do with this opportunity. So it's, doing it right, understanding, setting goals, reaching those goals. I like how you also talked about, hey, we're not trying to jump ahead of anything. We want that seats, we want those road miles. That's so important. And it's so often overlooked by not just players, but coaches too.
Mm-hmm. And I'll talk about the dedication of the parents and the team and the players, because not all our kids are local to Florida, right? We have Alabama, we have Georgia represented, and we have North Florida as well as Central Florida represented. So when we have a weekend, we have players that are driving 6 hours to get there for the weekend. So there is definitely a level of commitment and a level of support from the parents. With Christy and Matt, Chantel and Robert. I mean, those guys drive and stay in an RV now, for the weekend. So they are highly committed to making sure that we bring the team together and they support their sons as well.
Excellent. That's awesome.
Yes.
Let me ask you a question about kind of how you put all this together. Mike and I, last couple of weeks, we've talked a lot about like ranking systems and player tracking, and obviously coming out of the combine, that's been kind of hot. And obviously you're on the back end of BKI, so you understand like what's coming and what we're trying to help develop. How did you guys figure out? So you bring these 4 teams together. How did you determine one, who was going to be on what roster, and what kind of data points, if any, did you guys use to figure that out? And then how did you manage that process with the players?
Yes. So we had a tryout and we took the tryout, and we had, obviously some help from Matt Crothers, who was leading that aspect of it. But Chris Horn and Keith Brown were also at tryouts, along with Jason and Tom Fox. And they had scouting sheets to basically kind of look at, things like communication, athleticism, field awareness, things of that nature. And then they made the cuts from there of who we did not think that was going to make it that time that we took the best that we had. Now, we don't have different lines. We only have one roster. It's a heavy roster. We had 12 players on the roster this week, which also helped us because with the one-day tournament, when we were playing X-Ball, we had 2 X-Ball matches that we played in X-Ball for those matches. So we had a bit of an advantage because you had more people to rotate in, right? Than maybe someone who only has, 6 or 7 players on the roster. We tend to keep that heavy roster through the year and not split it up into multiple lines this year. Some people are going to have more development time versus training time because we have some players that need a little bit more seat time before they may be a starter. And it's really about earning their position. So when we took those forms out, the coaches talked about that, and then we made the cuts, and then we said that we were just going to keep we were going to keep a heavy roster this year. And then hopefully next year we can look at it and build. Maybe we have a semi-pro line and a D2 line next year or something like that. So the goal is maybe to look forward and think more about growing the program. But this year we really wanted to focus on one line.
Did you hear what she just said? So I had a thing in there that said, what are your goals for 2024? And I just heard you're going to win D2 because we're already planning on going semi-pro. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that down.
Mark that down, but let's expand on that. What are the additional goals for 2020 besides obviously winning D2?
Yes.
What are the goals for 2025? I
So
think we just heard you say to expand the program.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely expand the program. But more importantly, it's about, player growth for each player. Each player has different things that they need to grow in. And we know what those things are. They know what those things are. They already know what we're working on. So, when we talk about, the next 3 months, and we look back and be like, okay, did this guy, how is he, is he acting like, did he make the move from a 1 to a 2? Or is the communication across field better? Whatever those things are, each of them has their goals. What we did at Combine this last time, as you guys know, maybe the audience doesn't know, we had each drill was calculated. And then and I don't know if they've gone out yet because I have seen them. So I don't know if the players have received them yet, but they will be receiving their player evaluations. And the player evaluations will be a lot more detailed this year for Combine. And it'll actually tell you, this is the rank that you got in this drill. And these are the deductions that you had, and this is the areas that you can improve. So, you can be really, really well and running and gunning, but maybe in your snake drill, you could see these deductions to where maybe you need to work on your mechanics for your crawling or whatever. So there's going to be some very specific things that each player that attended Combine, there were 79 of them this year, that will get to be able to, look at it and see their growth for next year. So I know I skipped around a little bit between my team and the Combine, but I think what's important with all of that is no matter what player you are, you should have goals, and you should really have an honest reflection about what your strengths are and what your areas of weaknesses are. And you should have a plan around how to strengthen the strengths and how to work and improve on the areas of growth, and then have some kind of metric. And listen, sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to be honest with ourselves, right? About what that looks like. So what we need some 360 feedback. That's a term that I use in my personal or my professional career, but that's basically getting feedback from others, right? And people will give you some honest opinion. But I will tell you this, if you're going to ask the question, what can I do better? You better be prepared for the answer, because sometimes we're not going to like what we have to hear, right? And it's really about how receptive you are. I've had players that have played for me that are like, well, she repeats herself over and over and over again, and that just drives me crazy. And I'm like, well, we're going to keep repeating it until we actually get it right, or we actually improve upon that, right? We're not going to stop talking about that because it's important, and I've had players where you can give feedback to, and they're like, oh man, I didn't know that. I didn't realize that. And then they come back stronger, right? And better, and a better teammate, a better communicator. Then you have other people that are like, I don't think she really knows what she's talking about. Or, these 5 people who've told me this don't really know what they're talking about. I know best. And then they never improve, right? So it's all about how you're going to receive the information, and are you really actually going to take some action to actually get better?
Yeah, I do want that. First of all,
That's it.
You know what I mean? Like,
we need one of those things that does.
Yeah, we talk about that all the time on the show. Like, especially just like valuable feedback based on facts, not emotions, and sometimes it is, sometimes it is emotions, right? Like, we don't have a KPI necessarily for your attitude, but I know it's bad when I see it. Like, I can see your face, right? I know it's bad when I see it. I know it's good when I see it. So there's certain things I don't need a KPI for, right? Sportsmanship, attitude, coachability.
Correct.
I don't need a KPI for those. Like, I can have a conversation with you and tell. And you talking about, I get that a lot, right? People are like, hey, coach, you keep saying the same thing over and over again. And I'm like, I know, but I have to do it because either one of two things is happening here. One of two things. Either you're dumb or you don't care. I don't think you're dumb, and I do think you care. So I have to keep saying it because I don't think that maybe you're like, I'm saying it maybe a little bit different way. I added a couple different words, or I took a couple words out.
Right.
I get it, but I keep having to say it over and over and over again because you keep doing it. So you want me to shut up? I will, but that just means you got to fix it for me to shut up. Right.
And then when they fix it and the aha light comes on, isn't that most rewarding?
It's the best, right? I don't want to fix
best.
this right here real quick. Jeff says, hey, the younger generation is soft. You got to use kid gloves. That's really not true, really, from my perspective. There's that like a couple, right? But if a kid's getting shot with a 200-mile-an-hour bath bead, he's a pretty tough kid.
Yes.
Like my experience at the combine and with lots of other in other situations I've been in with young kids playing paintball is they're pretty tough. They're pretty tough.
Yes.
I don't think they need to be abused like we were abused in the late 90s because that wasn't cool either.
No, that wasn't. No, that wasn't.
But
The kids that I've had the pleasure of working with, I can tell you that it's not a it was not uncommon the last couple of years that by the time we got done with warm-ups and stretching that somebody was puking, and then they would still get back on the field. So we obviously some of that was adjustments with people who were flying in outside of Florida. Some of it was just people not used to having stamina. But the good news, I'll never forget one, Joel, from when we were coaching, he comes from Iowa and he was down here and he was like, the first time he ever made it through without puking, he was just like, I cannot believe today is the day that I did not puke before we got started today. And he was super excited. So some of that also happens. But those kids, they get back on the field. They don't give up.
I would clarify this. I'm sure there are children or generations that are soft, that have members of their generation that are soft. The ones that are coming to play paintball, they're not soft. The ones that are coming to play paintball and are serious about it and enjoy it and want to continue to grow in the sport, they're not soft. I'm not seeing that. I've actually seen more adults who come to play paintball that are softer than some of the kids that I've seen out here. So
Austin Coggins just said, I think the kids are more receptive to criticism than adults.
He's spot on, because that's something else I wanted to talk about, because you guys both made great points about, I think one of the greatest weapons in the arsenal of a player is the mirror. And I talk about this a lot, and Ryan talks about this a lot. We talk about it a lot on the show, and the fact that you have to be able to look at yourself and recognize, and Julie, you nailed it. You have to look at yourself and say, okay, I'm good at this, but I'm not so good at this. And this is how and what I need to do to improve, to shore up the strengths and make those weaknesses, turn those weaknesses into opportunities or strengths themselves. Not everybody's going to be perfect, and it's not going to happen overnight for a lot of people. But as long as you don't quit, you're going to get there.
That's exactly right. It's not uncommon at all for our players to be posting what they're doing through the week. This is not a Saturday or a Sunday only sport. They are preparing all week long, whether it's through hydration, whether it's through going to the gym, taking a run outside, practicing your slides, holding your, I can't tell you how many moms I've heard from, do you know my kid never puts his gun down at the house? He's always got it moving this way, that way. Yes, because they are working on that stuff all the time, so we call it no days off, right? So you're always working for something. So, and especially when we're getting ready to go to a tournament, all we do is we call it turning it up a notch. We got to turn it up a notch. So that's they keep focused on that. And we have check-ins, throughout the whole week in our chats and stuff of what people are doing, and they're posting what they're doing. And that obviously is a motivator right there. So if you got everybody else posting what they're doing and you're not posting anything, a little friendly competition there doesn't hurt either.
Yeah. I wanted to comment on this as well. It says that comfortable builds complacency. I would argue that comfort is where dreams go to die. Mm-hmm. It's just once you get comfortable and you feel you've plateaued and there's no more. No, Bruce Lee always taught that now we go to the next plateau.
That's right. We
keep exactly searching for the next plateau, right? We never want to just be complacent. So
no,
I'll shut up.
Why would you shut up? That was great.
I know.
He does that every time. Julie, I don't know how often you listen to our show, but he does that all the time.
I do
He'll
listen.
he'll say these great things. He's like, all right, I'm gonna shut up now. It's like, but this is a talk. You're supposed to talk. This is a podcast.
I know it.
Like, the whole point of doing this podcast is for you to share your wisdom.
Maybe he's
61
stopping for the moment
episodes
to
in,
let
and I
it
still
sink
don't get
in.
it.
Say that again.
Maybe he's stopping for the moment to let it sink in.
Yeah, but then just shut up, take a pregnant pause, and then start again.
Pregnant pause. Got it.
Yeah, and did you know, just take a moment, right? Anyway,
Well, that's why I have you.
I love them. Yeah, I love them where I just stopped doing this. Nonetheless, so you kind of mentioned, and I wanted to kind of shift into this final thing. So let's talk a little bit about tournament preparation. So you did this kind of with your Livewire group, and then now sort of, again, we talked about this in the green room, sort of in a different role now, managing, but also there for sort of an assistant coaching role when Matt needs, asking advice or opinions, which again, I think is fantastic and makes you guys even more dangerous, because any coach who's humble enough to ask for help and take criticism, and they're just going to keep getting better, right?
Right.
So talk us through kind of, how do you guys handle tournament preparation? When do you do what? So on day one, when the layout comes out and you guys are going to show up, what's the first thing you guys do?
We make sure that we all know the bunkers. So we'll name all the bunkers to make sure everybody has that, send that out immediately, and everybody has to know before we see each other. So it's not acceptable at all for you not to know the bunker numbers before you get to practice. So that is a number one rule, and that is one thing that if you don't know them, that's where discipline comes in. Maybe doing a couple of laps. I used to we have not done this as a legacy, but we did this as Livewire and we did this as ML Kids. But I would actually have blank copies of the layout, and the first thing we did before anything is I gave you a pen, and you had to tell me what the bunkers were before you even got on the field. And then we always we go out there and we walk the field together. Right, we're looking for we go from each bunker to bunker. We're looking for what can you see, what can you not see, what's in the way. Then we'll eventually do zones. Kyle Berry, thank you very much for teaching me how to do zones. We'll start looking at where potential zones are. We don't usually identify those until after we get further into the play. And then once we walk the field together, we do that. Then we do breakout drills. And we do quick breakout drills, everybody's on the box, everybody's shooting, we raise our hands. If you got hit, and we count bounces, it obviously matters, right? Whether you're getting bounced or not. So we raise the markers up, let them know that we've gotten hit or where it came from. They'll ask you the back and forth. People will be like, hey, was my paint too high? Was it behind you? Whatever. We're always sharing information with each other. And I think that's big. And that doesn't, no matter who we line up against during our layout practices, Matt does a really good job of solidifying teams to practice with us. So we usually have a private field. So we're sharing information back and forth with each other, right? Your paint was behind me. Your paint was, too far in front of me or over my head or whatever. So we make some adjustments like that. And then what we do is we do breakouts, but we do them for just a little bit longer, like the secondary bunkers. And then we'll call the point. We'll do that. And then after that, we'll eventually start getting into some point situations. And then we do a lot of 2v3s or 3v3s or 4v5s, just some, scenario type situations. We try to do all that on Saturday. They're long days. Like we usually get started between 8:30 and 9 o'clock in the morning. And on tournament weekends, we don't end until, closer to that 5:30 or 4:30, 5 o'clock time frame. And we're doing that on Friday. If the team gets down there early enough on Friday, we'll start on Friday night. And then we'll go all day Saturday and all day Sunday. And then all day Sunday is points. We just run as many points as we can, and we start formulating our different plays where we have some base structure, right? And then, of course, you have certain plays for whether you're going to do story time versus attack or 1 minute points or whatever. And we just try to make sure that everybody understands that. I have been known to use PowerPoint quite a bit. And my PowerPoint is basically typically where each of the 5 players are going to go. with a particular a play, and it'll also have the shooting lane with it as well. So I have solid colored lines and dash colored lines. I'll share them with you guys one day so you can just see the fun that I've had doing PowerPoint, and we make calls to where people know what those are. Matt does it a little bit different. I haven't done the PowerPoint step with him yet, but he has very similar where he has those base plays and everybody knows it. Then we have variations off of that. And then what we do is Kenny Barker will do all of our scouting sheets for us. So we will know by the time that tournament happens, who played every point, how often you died. So we keep our own stats like that as well.
Wow.
It's foundational. It's streamlined.
Yes.
Good.
And like I mentioned, it's not just that weekend, right? Leading up to the tournament, we're checking on who's drinking, hydration, and who's getting their stamina in. Of course, if there was any injury or whatever, making sure you're taking the necessary steps to make sure yourself is you're healthy for the tournament. So yeah, it's always fun. The kids, you'll see our kids out there drilling on Wednesdays and Fridays. Most of them have backyards to where they have their own bunkers to where they're actually practicing at their houses too. So it's a nonstop. If you want to be really good at this game and your goal is to be a professional paintballer, the kids that are really, really dedicated and the kids that you saw at Combine and the ones that you're going to see try out for Team USA, those are the kids that are doing this and they're sleeping and drinking paintball.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. So just to clarify, so it's Sunday. So we're playing points on Sunday, and that's really where the play development is happening?
Yes. Yes. On Sunday.
Kenny just said exactly what I was going to say. You have a very professional approach to divisional paintball. We talked about this, and this is honestly why I asked you about your process. Yeah, exactly. I appreciate you saying that, and I know he's a part of your crew, so I love that.
Yes.
We talked about this in our clinic at the Combine. We had a gentleman there who was talking about his team going to play Division III just because, right? Yeah. He said, we're going to go play Division III just because we want to see where we fit, is what he said. And so, and we're trying to be kind about the way we're talking about this decision. And so I asked, well, have you been successful in the division you're playing now, which was Division V? And he said, no. In fact, I don't think they had made a cut at any of the events that they had played, but they were going to go check out D3. And I said, well, instead of you going to play Division III, why don't you practice and prepare like you're going to go play Division III and then go play Division IV? Mm-hmm. So if you really want to see where you stand, like prepare like you're going to play. If you want to be pro, right? This is kind of where I was trying to get with them. If you want to play like a professional player, you have to prepare like a professional player. And if you want your team to get to the place where you can perform like a professional team, then you have to prepare like a professional team. I love the process. I love what you guys are doing. And it's been, that's been my attitude with every team I've kind of coached, regardless of what division they are. I've always said, hey, I'm going to coach you like a pro team. And if we win divisional tournaments, great. Mm-hmm. Great. But my process is, and my job is, you told me you wanted to go pro. I'm going to get you to where you want to go. But along the way, like, we may win some tournaments, but that's not what I'm coaching you for. I'm coaching you to become a professional team.
We made a conscious decision when we were with the MO kids that it was not about winning tournaments as much as it was about player development and where we ended up developing as a team. And because of that, I think that is why you see the structure, you see the determination, you see the commitment levels from these kids who started out there, plus like the Dangerous Toys organization, obviously with Matt Crothers, they had that as well. And when we brought these kids together, I mean, they just all have that level of foundation, right? that
Yeah.
each one of them wants to be better and better every day. And then not only do they individually want to be better, but they want to be better as teammates. And that right there it's really where it's at.
It really is, right? There's a great question in here from Moms of Paintball that I want to put up on the screen for you.
I want to do a shout out to Moms of Paintball. I'm so excited about Moms of Paintball. I saw your first episode. Way to go.
So in an effort to balance the training schedule and schooling of the kids, do you have mainly homeschooled kids or are they all in public? How do you schedule around everyone's requirement?
We are usually in big trouble with the schools around here. Most of us all have like conferences about absentees. So what we do is we try to set that stage every year with the school system and our kid of, hey, look, this is what's happening. This is a team sport. Obviously, if you're with Team USA and Combine, there's some letters that can go out for that as well to help. But it's been something since Eli started. We have always kind of gotten that letter of, hey, too many absentees. So what we have done is we've tried to be upfront with the school. Not every school is as forgiving. So sometimes I know other parents who have to pretend like their kid is sick to go play paintball. Not advertising to lie or not be transparent, but sometimes parents got to do what you want to do when you got to get things done. So we have that. But the other thing is, we like as a mother, I have, I've given tutoring right to my kids where they've needed extra if they were going to miss extra days. Eli takes a heavy load of AP classes, which are classes that, obviously if he misses a day, it's like he misses a week. So we've had to do some extra tutoring to make sure that he doesn't get behind in any classes. I love the fact that sometimes these tournaments are around maybe spring break or something, so we don't have to ask for those days, but it does get extremely tough around what you can do as a balance for school. We do have several of our parents who are looking for virtual options or who have gone to virtual options for homeschooling to help them assist with being able to do their passion and not to be in so much trouble with the school attendance policies. It's not easy. And I try to, as a parent, when I talk to organizers, right, whether it's with, the Combine or Team USA, and that's one of the reasons why I'm part of Team USA. I'm the secretary for Team USA. But I'm trying to bring that voice of a parent. Anthony and Lori are freaking amazing. Everybody's, obviously they're amazing people. Marcelo, Ryan Greenspan also. But that voice of, hey, let me tell you how it is on this end, right? Let me tell you how it is about trying to get the time off at school. That matters. So whether it's Tom Cole, I've shared some things with him before. Alex Zudell is an organizer of MVPS. He just helped us out because they want to do the velocity division on Fridays. If you'd have done the velocity division on Fridays, we could not have played because we can't pull the kids out for another day of school. Right. So glad they listened and it was on Saturday.
Yeah, we homeschool all.
But I do love what Moms of Paintball is doing. So y'all keep it up.
Yeah, for those who don't know, Moms of Paintball is a brand new podcast that is out now. Make sure to go check it out. You can find it on, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe you can find it on YouTube. Correct. And I believe also you can find it on Spotify and maybe a few other channels. But if you have not yet, make sure to go check it out. Like, subscribe. Really interesting. It's great perspective.
Yes. Well, there's definitely a lot of things to talk about and a lot of things that we should, have conversations about, because one thing we want to do is grow the sport. And the only way we're going to do that is to make sure that we're all putting our insights and our, being collaborative to be able to, to get all the options that we can possibly get and advocate for our players.
Yeah. 100%. Excellent.
And I was going to add to what you were talking about with the letter writing and that kind of thing. I had Dusty and Devin Odell played for me on Texas Storm way back when, and they were 18 and 16, so a senior in high school and a sophomore in high school. And I was able to write a letter to the school, and I noted things like gymnastics and some other things that they were allowing kids to get out and do, and literally on a half day schedule, give them an entire half day off, and we're not counting those as absences. And I was able to get Louisville, Texas, Louisville ISD to accept paintball as like a sport, so that they could get out and do it. And it was nothing. Like all I had to do was give them a schedule at the beginning of the year, and all those days were okay. So
yeah, we have some upfront conversations around teacher orientation days of, hey, we just need to talk about this right now ahead of time, so right? So we're very we're very specific about making sure that Eli's not missing time away from school that he doesn't have to, right? So when it can be there, he absolutely is there.
Excellent.
And he doesn't like missing school. So that's always a hey, what time are we going to fly out to try to be there, right? So we would love to be there to be able to check in on Thursdays at NXLs, but that's probably not going to work for us, for Eli to go to school the whole day on. So we have to go in, and he just knows that he's going to have to lose a little bit more sleep, or not be able to be as cozy as trying to check in early or anything like that. So sometimes it comes down to the wire, just because of the fact that we're trying to keep him in school as long as we can.
Do you know you can go right to nxlids.com and check in?
You can't when you have a child, because you have to sign, because the parent has to sign.
Yeah, you can sign on his phone.
My understanding was that the minors couldn't do that. So if that's the case, I will love that.
It's right there below his. It says parent signature, and you hit the button and you can sign right there for it.
I am going to check on that.
Solving problems on the Coaches Show.
That is awesome. I was always told and thought that the minors cannot check in online, that we had to do it in person.
I mean, that may be I'm not a minor, but I've possibly seen other minors do it.
Oh, I got that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm going to check into that, because that does help. I mean, it's obviously something that we all have to just kind of schedule around.
Right.
Love it.
Yeah, if these kids are at a paintball event, their parents know they're there. So it wouldn't make a lot of sense to have force them to have a parent to do it. But I mean, if they do, and that's for some insurance reason, I understand. I get it. As an insurance professional myself, I understand it. So
yes, and I'm not really sure if it is that, because we do have to show our IDs as parents to sign our kids into the paintball events.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
I will be eagerly waiting that day when I don't necessarily have to do that for Eli, but I don't want that to happen too fast, because I don't want him to grow up too fast.
Yeah, don't be in a hurry. I was going to say, Mom, don't be in a hurry.
No, I'm not. He's a junior this year, so he's only got next year he'll be a senior. So our whole world is fixing to turn to college visits.
My house is empty. My kids have moved on. I can honestly tell I loved every moment that I got that was special with them. But we're good with it. Like my wife and I are so happy and peaceful, and there's always food in the fridge, and there's if I put leftovers in there, they're always there the next day and the day after. I love my kids. In fact, I was going to really quick, and you'll appreciate this, but my son got engaged yesterday. We drove to Arkansas. Yeah, thanks. We drove to Arkansas. He'd kind of set up this whole really neat thing. He tells us about a week ago, hey, here's kind of what I'm thinking. Maybe it was 2 weeks ago. Here's what I'm thinking. You guys are going to be around, all that stuff. And anyway, we're like, oh my gosh, yes, man, that's very exciting. And so his girlfriend, who's from Oregon, goes to school in Salem Springs, Arkansas, which is about 3 hours from here. Anyway, it was parents' weekend. So he'd set this whole thing up kind of while her parents were going to be there. So he included them, included us. So we drove to Arkansas yesterday. So those moments are so special and they're very important. But as soon as it was over and we had dinner, I got to come back to my house with my bed, and it was really quiet, and there was nothing going on. So, we had a new special moment we got to share with him. But again, I got to come back to my empty house with my lovely wife, which was very exciting. So, anyway, did want to say congratulations, my son. I doubt he listens to any of these, but if he does, love you, proud of you. Great job.
That's
Excellent.
awesome.
Excellent.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thanks.
No.
All right. Oh, and Mike's son is a state champion wrestler.
I wasn't going to say anything because I didn't want to take away from the fact that your son got engaged. So,
oh, that's okay.
Let's celebrate your son's engagement on this show.
We just did.
That's true.
We raised good men. That's what that means.
Very much so. I'm a little bit different. For some reason, I'm not in a big hurry for my kid. I know I'll love it when it happens. I love having the extra hands around the house. Hey, come lift this for me. Hey, can you hold this? I need you to paint that room.
Now, to be clear, I didn't kick him out.
Oh, I understand that. But my father, who had 6 children, my father used to say, I asked him one day, I said, Dad, why did you have so many kids? And he says, you think I like yard work? So I just kind of, I've just kind of fallen into that myself. I've got the same situation. But yes, I did want to shout out to my son, Sean, who won the 5A Alabama state championships at 113. Undefeated. Awesome. Didn't lose a match all year. So
yeah, really undefeated season. He crushed.
Yeah, he crushed. And that's very rare. So, but and I did want to tell you, Julie, my daughter, I know you said your daughter is English horseback riding. My daughter's a barrel racer.
Oh, so, nice.
Yeah. So
yes. Yeah, Avery tried her hand at the Western and did not like it at all, but she loves English. And this weekend it was, you're at the paintball field and you got Eli playing on the paintball field. You got FaceTime over here with Avery in the rink, dividing and conquering. Because the one thing about it is, for all you parents out there, the best thing that you can do and the most rewarding thing that you can do is just be a part of your child's life and to celebrate whatever milestones they have, whether they're getting engaged or winning wrestling tournaments or, getting tryouts to Team USA or whatever that is. Just celebrate and be there for your child because they will remember it.
Well said. Well said. Excellent.
Yeah, it's a big deal. Well, Julie, I don't have any other questions. Mike?
No, I think this is exactly what we wanted. We wanted to get the insight from Julie. We wanted to get the feedback from those perspectives, right? And I think you've provided a tremendous amount of perspective for several of our listeners.
Well, I appreciate that. And I appreciate you asking me. It was quite a surprise today when, I got the ask. So I thought that was amazing. And, you guys and what you do and how you support our kids is just amazing. So thank you for that. And, like I've mentioned, Anthony and Lori with Combine and BKI and Team USA. And, we have lots of sponsors. I'm just going to say this real quick at the end here, right? That we have tremendous amount of sponsors that help us be able to do what we're doing. And at Legacy, obviously we couldn't do it without Legacy Sports with Jason Edwards and Tom Fox and HK and Balkan. And obviously go buy your hate stuff. Right. I mean, that's the only time you'll ever hear me say the word hate because I love everybody. But definitely, go support hate because they are, Jason's doing an amazing work with that. And that's obviously something that we want to be a part of. But then when you look at, and I'm just going to pull it up real quick here, just so I don't leave anybody off, because if that's the case, I don't want to get in trouble by anybody. But from a Combine perspective, BKI, GI Sports, JT, Dynasty, Planet Eclipse, Wasteland, Pro Edge Paintball and Twister. And then for Team USA, HK, Hormesis, BKI Paintball, GI Sports, JT, Wasteland, Pro Edge, and Twister. And one thing that I'll do real quick is we cannot do it without all of you as well. Right. So we're going to ask you guys all in the next couple of weeks as we're moving toward the Team USA stuff to open your pocketbooks up again for fundraising. We'll have lots of product on the in the store. We'll have an opportunity to sell logos for the players' jerseys to be able to sponsor that direction. You'll also have the opportunity for vertical raise donations. So if there's an opportunity that you think that you can help just continue to grow the sport and to support all these young players, just basically live their dreams, we would absolutely love your help in that. So big shout out to everybody for that. Just go support it so we can grow the sport even more.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you parents do such a
think I
great
hit 'em
job,
all.
it makes our coaching easier, right? When you guys do such a good job and raise such
Yes.
good, fine young children, it makes the coaching easier. So thank you.
Yes. Well, thank you. It's my pleasure. It's my absolute pleasure. I love it. I didn't think I'd like the game of paintball in the beginning, but I will tell you that secretly I really like it.
Paintball, the game, is fantastic. Paintball, the community, is a little better.
Bingo.
Yes.
A little
It's
better.
exceptional.
Yeah.
It's exceptional.
Big fan.
Yes. Me
Julie,
too.
I'm
Me
also
too.
I'm also a big fan of yours. And for anybody who's listening or watching, Julie's a hugger.
I am.
So if you see Julie walking around at any of these
Be
events, be
Free
prepared.
hugs.
Yep, she loves to hug. Which, by the way, I'm a huge fan too because I am a hugger. So yeah, go find Julie, say hello, introduce yourself, get a giant hug because they're great. Just make sure that you like breathe away because somebody at the combine gave her the flu.
Oh
And,
yeah.
yeah,
That was
which was
yeah.
probably
Yeah, that
probably
guy.
Nick. Yeah, probably Nick.
I got it too, Julie.
Yeah, probably Nick who gave it to both of them, but nonetheless,
It probably was. As
yeah.
most of you'll see there on my name, it says Juju. Many of the players out at Legacy and Tiki's know me as Mama Juju. So I don't just have one son play in this sport. I have tons and tons and tons of adopted sons of all ages. And probably some grandpas and uncles too that I have inherited through this sport. And I just, from the bottom of my heart, I love every single one of you. There are way too many to name. But just what you guys have done for me and my family, my son, thank you, because that community is it's huge. And I will always give free hugs out. So anytime you need one, you come see me. And I also probably have my Mary Poppins bag of magic over there too. So if you're looking for something else, because I just collect everything that you may ever need for paintball, I don't know, a shoestring here or a Q-tip to clean the paint out your ear or medicine there. I usually probably have that too, along with the normal batteries and all the other stuff that you might need. So I'm looking forward to seeing you all out at the NXL and at MVPS. And obviously I'll see everybody out at Team USA tryouts.
Excellent. Excellent.
Thank you again. We really appreciate you taking the time tonight.
Thank you. I appreciate you all. Thank you.
Just have a great
See you
evening,
soon.
Julie. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Everything we thought it would be.
She's so good.
She's
so sweet. Yeah.
She is. It's hard.
And I love and I almost sent her a text in one of my texts earlier, like, breaking glass ceilings and doing things slightly out of the ordinary, right? But I also didn't want to make it sound like any kind of mansplaining paintball. You know what I'm saying? Like, it didn't feel right. So I was like, I'm not going to put that in there because she knows she's badass. Like, I don't have to tell her. So anyway, I was like, this is just going to be good. But I love the fact, we just don't have enough female coaches, period. Like, we don't even have enough female coaches coaching in the women's league. And I would love, obviously to have more female coaches because I love the perspective and some of the nuances they bring to the game. I think it's really important. Obviously, we just need more really good coaches, period. Right? We just need more really good coaches. So very exciting. She was a great guest. We'll certainly love to have her back on. So hopefully Legacy Factory continues to do well. We'll get her and Matt on next time together. Matt, if you're watching this, apologies. I thought Julie was the head coach because I saw her in the photos and I didn't see you in any of them. So you must have been doing something different. I don't know what you were doing. So anyway, well, thank you guys so much for watching this episode of the Coaches Show. This show is brought to you by Max Sportswear. If you're playing the NXL or Regional League, contact Charles today for contingency details. If you want to elevate your game, join BKI. New platform and content is coming soon. You guys have heard us talking a ton about it. We're trying to get it all put together as quickly as possible, but it takes data. I'm going to ask you guys in the next week or two for a huge favor that I'm going to need from you. It's not going to be a lot. It's not going to take a lot of money, but really any money. I'm going to ask you to do the BKI drills and send us data points, but we'll talk about that in a week or two. Thank you to Coach Eli Roberts for joining us tonight. Thank you to Major League Paintball, Darren Cessna, Kevin Fillers, Alex Sorensen, and Tom Cole. I'm Ryan Gray with Mike Bianca. As always, be responsible.